Hi there. Tonight I want to have a few words about system calls. Now, in YAB, you can make system calls. In other words, forget about YAB for a moment, go out to the system, do something else, and then come back to YAB. So, we've got a little sample program here. You remember very recently we talked about opening files, writing to them, printing to them, actually, and, closing it again. Well, this is an alternative way to do it. Let's say you have some text here in this string variable. Well, you can now say error equals system. Then I construct this echo plus this text here and redirect it to this text file. So let's do that. And there it is on our desktop. And I've created my text file. Now, that looks much simpler, doesn't it? Much easier. But you should do these things as rarely as you can get away with. Because when you make this text call, what is it going to call? It's going to call bash. So if we have a look here, and where is bash? Bash is 991 kilobyte and change. That's almost a megabyte that has to be loaded into memory before it can start to do whatever you want it to do. And then it may need to load other things. I mean, okay, this was a very simple example. Echo is an internal command in bash. Even so, if you start saying, using things like ls or, any other external command, and it has to load bash, then it has to load the other command. All this is going to slow your program down a lot. Still, it is possible, and sometimes it is just so much easier to write a whole little script in bash and make that system call. Now, what is the 0 that gets printed out there? Well, that is the error code. And 0 in bash world means everything went fine, no problems. Think of 0 as no problems. Because if there was a problem, it would have printed out 1 or 2 or 3. This normally doesn't get printed here, right? So if I now say echo more text and I append that to you see, it didn't actually print out a 0 because the error code doesn't get printed out. However, if we now do right, then you get standard output. So, how do we get our hands on that standard output? Well, for that we also have a YAB command, and that is system dollar. That gets the standard output as a string. Now don't get confused, because it's easy enough to have system calls that seem to print out a number on the screen, but that is not an actual number. That is text, string. And so systems, okay, so let's say B string equals system dollar. Oops. You ever get the feeling that you're going to wear out the double quotes on your keyboard? Right. So now we're saying run this command here, and then feed it into B string. And just to verify, we're going to print that out. Right, and you see it printed the error code, and then it printed this new variable called B string, which happened to be the same as A string because that's what we fed into it. So this doesn't have to be a simple little one-line bash command. Now, if you've got a script that you've written, Python script, Perl script, you can call it. You can call a C++ program, as long as it has been compiled and everything. And so that is, as I said, not the preferred way to do things. It may seem that you're saving yourself a lot of typing because you don't have to open the file for a specific mode and do whatever you want to do and then close it again. But try not to have your YAB program being just a container for endless system calls, because sooner or later you're going to try to run it on a very slow machine, and then you'll realize that this is not an efficient way to go about things. Still, sometimes it is just easier to write your script in Bash and just call it. And sometimes Bash or Perl or Python is just able to do things that YAB cannot. And so this is available for us. And this, by the way, is optional. It'll still work if I take it out. And very often you don't really need that. You don't really need that error code anyway, so then you don't really need to feed it into a variable. But sometimes you do. This one, however, you are very rarely going to use like this, because if that's what you wanted, then you might as well just have used the plain system command. So here you will generally feed it into a variable. Okay, so those were the system calls you can make in YAB. Thanks for watching.